This right here is OnlyOffice, and it can do a whole heck of a lot, including being your document server, your mail server, or you could connect other mail servers to it. You have customer relationship management software, so actually organizing, invoicing, you can associate projects with that calendar, and a whole lot more. I'm Brandon Hopkins. I'm going to be your developer advocate for today, and we're going to be talking about all that and how to get it all set up here on Akamai Connected Cloud. And compared to how I usually do videos here on this channel, we're going to be working a little bit backwards. This takes a while for the domains and all that to propagate and set up. So first I'm going to demonstrate some of the features on an instance I already set up, and then I'm going to run through the process to setting up your very own. And this right here is the home page. This is what it's going to look like when you first get it installed and you log into it. You have some of the core functionalities available to you right here. You have some more options through this little choose menu, and then you have a bunch of notifications, mail, chat, calendar, and then access to your profile and signing out. Now what we're going to do is just run through some of the functionalities of this, starting with documents. Now this can be used as an alternative to something like Google Drive, because it will also support all the functionalities of things like Docs, Slides, Excel, whatever you need is all going to be in here, and you're going to be able to use the editors online. And again, this is all self-hosted. So you can see here, this is my document. So you have folders and various example documents that are kind of thrown in here just to show you some of the capabilities. For example, if I open up this sample document here, we're going to see this open up in something that looks very similar to Microsoft Word. And you basically have all the functionalities. It's very cross-compatible with Microsoft applications. And you can see there's very little delay when you start typing. It's going to work just as it should, and all of this is collaborative software, so you can invite other people and work on things together. And just a quick demo, let's say I wanted to put in a table, for example. I just go insert, table, however big I want the table to be. There you go, and you can see all the different options off to the side here. And I'm not going to run through all the features here, because if you have any experience in Microsoft Word, it's basically the exact same thing, or it's basically the same thing as the OnlyOffice desktop applications, which if you want to, you could install those, try them out to kind of get a feel for the software. And basically the same goes for something like spreadsheets here. If I open this up, you can see some sample data here. We have some Olympic, gold, silver, bronze. We have a chart here, and this is your basic spreadsheet application. This is the PowerPoint kind of alternative. All the same stuff going on. And that is kind of the core of the document application. There's actually a one-click marketplace where you can spin up your very own node to just host a document server if that's something you're interested in. But later on in the video, I'm going to show you how to get all the software I'm about to show you with a really easy installation script. So from there, let's move over to projects, and we could start a new project here. For my new project, I could call it something like Akamai video content. And let's say I needed to produce 10 videos. I would give a description. You might want to be a little more detailed than that. We can add a project manager. For me, I'm the only person in here, so I could say me. You could add tags, and all these are going to be done with Linodes. So let's create that and save it. So now we just save the project. And now you can see under my projects, we have Akamai video content. And then from there, we could add tasks. And you could do this really however you want. For me, in this example, I'm just going to do videos. So let's say this video we're recording right now is one of these tasks. So we do OnlyOffice Workspace. This is kind of a all-in-one solution, and it falls under the Akamai video content project. You could add various milestones to this. We currently have none. I can assign it to myself, and if you have other people in your team, you could assign things to teams through here. And we have our start date and due date. So let's say we started this today and I wanted it done by the end of the month, and it's a high priority. So from there, we could save it. So then under the main project, we have this video task. And then from there, if we want to, we could add subtasks. And let's say we need to record it. We need to edit it. And let's say we needed to update some documentation. And then of course we need to publish it. So those are your subtasks. And then from there, you could add specific people to specific subtasks. And you just do that by going over here. We can edit this, clicking on nobody, make this administrator. And then you'd want to go through, give it to your editor, so on and so forth. Now with all this, you have other features. We have time tracking, discussions. You could associate documents with specific things. If I open up this task, you can see some of the basic information we put in here. We have documents, so I can add specific files for this. You can relate tasks, comments, and then we can look at a chart to see kind of a good overview of the timeline for all the different tasks and projects that we have. And of course, if I finish something up, let's say we finished up recording, we finished up editing, you can see it checks those off and it's looking good. Like I said, we have milestones. You could plan milestones, so big things you want to accomplish, and you could associate those with various projects. Down here we have time tracking, so you can start a timer. You can see it's going to open up a separate window here. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So then you could start a timer, work on the project. When you're done for the day or done for just that chunk of time, stop it and record the actual time spent on a specific project. And of course we have reports, we have project templates. So if you want to create a project template, for example, if we're going to make a lot of those videos, we might want to make a template for it so we don't have to re-enter subtasks and things like that. Overall, Projects is a fantastic and pretty easy to use tool, especially compared to some of the alternatives out there, and it's really nice. It's kind of built into everything. And then of course we have CRM. This is your client relationship management software. And this is really easy. We just create a new contact. I'm going to create myself for now. So filled that out. If I go to email here, I could pop in a work email. You have phone, address, currency, descriptions, bunch of different stuff. And you could give access rights. So if some people on your team can have access to certain clients, you could give them permissions and disallow other people from interacting with some clients through here. So I'm going to click save for now. That's going to be good enough. And here we go. I'm going to add a photo just for fun. Here we go. So now that's my photo. And then you have some options and whatnot within the actual client page. So here I could set a temperature level, and this could relate to kind of whatever you want it to, whether that be if it's almost a potential sale, the importance of the client, or whatever. And then we have specific tasks associated with this person. We have opportunities, so you could create or link opportunities. Invoices, this is really nice. So if I wanted to create an invoice, I would just click on this. It provides or fills in a lot of the information for us since we have that client ready. Due date, currency, bunch of things. We have terms here. So just for now, I'm going to do ASAP. I wouldn't recommend putting that as actual terms in an invoice. And then we have items. So I'm going to create a new item, and let's say this is a video, and let's say it's 150 bucks. So I'd create that. There we go. Now we have the total. I can add tax, discount. So let's say I was being nice and I want to give a 10% discount. We would do that, making it 135. Then we add the invoice, and now we can see the invoice saved right here as a draft, and we have some options. If I click this little drop down, I can edit the invoice, which will take us back over here, save those changes for now, and this is what the actual invoice is going to look like. You'll see later there's a spot where you can actually put your branding and whatnot to actually make these look a little bit better. And then from here, if I go drop this down, I could mark it as build, I could download it, I can send it by email, which integrates within either the mail server, or you can link this up to other things. We're about to dive into that. Duplicate, and of course, if we want to, we could delete it. Now, there's a lot of other stuff, reports, cases, but that's definitely something you're going to want to explore. From there, we're going to go into mail. Now, just for some demo content, I linked an Outlook email that I have only really associated with Xbox stuff, so none of this is going to be important. And this is pretty standard. If we go to sent, for example, you can see some of the tests I was doing, sending out emails from the mail server. So you can see I sent this from the domain I have this associated with. And that's not working with anything third party. This is all integrated. If we look at settings and go to mail server here, you can see the Hopkey.net mail servers there. If I drop this down, go to DNS settings, you can see everything's all linked up properly. And then from there, we could use this software as a dedicated mail server to send and receive things. And of course, if I go to account management, you could also link other things. So this is the Outlook email I was talking about, is also linked in here. And we have more settings such as tag, folder, filter management. We could invite new users to our portal, and that's just done with a simple link. And of course, we have templates. So if you send a lot of these same emails over and over again, you could do that there. Really simple, easy to use email client, and the fact that it has the mail server integration is awesome. Now from there, I'm not going to dive too far into people. This is just where you add your various users. You have birthdays. If I click on a specific user, you can edit a lot of the various things associated with that person. I'm going to skip down to talk. This is a separate application. We could say if we want launch the web client here. This is kind of the default setup at the moment, but we have an actual chat bot. This can be used as an alternative to something like Slack, for example. And then we have a calendar and a feed. The feed can also be accessed over here. This will just give you a rundown of a lot of the things that's going on. I have no other people on here, so I haven't really been tagged in anything. If I go to projects, you see no projects. This is just where you're going to see everything that is associated with you. Now from there, we could go to the settings here, and you get a lot of the basic stuff. We have integrations, so it does integrate with various third-party services if you do use some of these. We have our mail server settings, SMTP settings, statistics, and then we could dive into control panel, which will give us even further settings to go ahead and manipulate and play around with this. But we're going to jump into some of the important things here once we get this set up, which, like I said, is super easy to do here on the Akamai Connected Cloud on our Linode. This is the OnlyOffice test I have spun up. So for now, what I'm actually going to do is power it down because we're going to be creating a new one, and I'm just going to use that same kind of throwaway domain I have. So let's power off this Linode, and what you're going to want to do is go up here to create. From there, click on Linode. And here we're going to go to the marketplace. Now, like I said, we're not going to be using this for this video, but if we do search OnlyOffice, you can see they do have the OnlyOffice doc server. If that's something you're interested in, you'd want to install that, look up some documentation to learn how to properly integrate it. But for this, to save us some time, we are going to go to Docker. We're going to install the Docker. This will give us a lot of the prerequisites that we're going to need to get this up and running. Now from here, we're going to create our limited sudo user. I'm going to go with Brandon, type in our password. And now here's the spot for the Linode API token. This domain is currently offsite at the moment. So if you do have your domain hosted or set up through the domain name manager, this is where it's going to automatically create those A records for you. If you do want an API token, you're going to go up here, click API tokens, and you can grab it there. For now, I won't be needing that, but what we're still going to want to do is put in our domain right here. So hopkey.net, obviously replacing that with whatever domain you happen to be using. Basically what this is going to do is automatically change our host file and whatnot, just again saving us some steps. So for here, select image, we're going to select Debian 11. You can select what you want, but I've been playing with this around for quite a bit. I am having the best luck with the latest version of Debian here that we have available. Here, pick a service or server location closest to you or closest to majority of the people that are going to be using this service. And now for the plan. OnlyOffice Workspace is an intensive application. We saw a lot of the stuff that it's doing. So technically, to meet the minimum requirements of this, we're going to want the Linode 8GB tier. If you're just setting this up for the first time and you are playing around with it, you can go with a lower tier, but there is going to be an argument that you're going to need to input when we run the installation script to allow you to bypass those minimum system requirements. If you do decide to do that, I do recommend you upgrade it to at least the minimum system requirements when you do put this into production. So from there, let's scroll down. It's trying to automatically create a label. I don't need one. I'm going to call this OnlyOffice-new, just so I know the difference. Make sure your root password is super complicated and secure. I do recommend SSH keys, but for this demo, we are just going to go and click on Create Linode. Now from here, if we want to, we can launch the Lish console to kind of see what it's doing. Usually takes about 5 minutes or so to get everything we need up and working. All right, we are back. It is now set up. I just logged in SSH. Just open up your terminal, go SSH, the limited sudo user that you created, followed by the IP address, and we are in. So from here, it's generally a good idea just to make sure everything is up to date. I'm pretty sure it's automatically done that for us, which we can see all the packages are indeed up to date. So real quick, we're here back on the OnlyOffice website. We're going to click on Run on Your Own Server. And here we have options. We have Enterprise, which is not free, and then we have Community, which is free. If you are running a larger business, you might want to look at the pros and cons between the two and kind of make a decision based on your needs. But from here, we could go down, and we're going to want to do this through Docker. So Docker image, we could just go ahead and read instructions here. Here, it's going to give us a bunch of instructions to set this up properly. And if I zoom in here, we are going to be doing this with a script that's going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us. I do recommend kind of look through this and you figure out exactly what you're going to want to need. For example, if you're going to do this without the mail client, you're going to want to add various flags and whatnot. And if I scroll up here, I do recommend you check out this documentation because there's a lot of tips and tricks, and if something doesn't work quite right, it's probably going to be in here. We can see these system requirements right here. Again, if you're going with a lower tier, just to kind of test this out, there's another variable or argument that you're going to want to input to do that. But first, we're going to get the script. So it's just going to be wget and then this URL. So we're just going to paste that on in, hit enter, and then it's going to go ahead and download that script for us. And now if we go back here, we can see this is the bash script. Now this is really important. Right here where it says your domain, this is going to be your mail server domain. It's not too clear. I was having issues where I was just putting the straight domain here and it was not working properly. So do note that for this example, we're going to do mail.yourdomain.com. So give that a copy, and then we're going to paste that on in right here, and again change this so it is going to be your mail server domain. So for us, it's going to be mail.hopkey.net, just like that. Now before we do that, we're going to want to make sure our A record is set up. So we're going to want to go back to our Akamai Connected Cloud Manager here under our Linode, copy the IP address for the Linode that we just created for this. Now this will work perfectly on the actual domain manager on Akamai, but like I said earlier, this is offsite, so at least on Namecheap, for example, we're going to go to Advanced DNS and then add an A record here. You could see I was already playing around with this, so I'm just going to change this to the new Linode. You create an A record, do it at your host, or if you're going to use a subdomain, that's where you'd want to put it. And then I'm going to save the changes. You can see some text records here later on if you do want to set up the mail server. This is where you're going to want to do that as well with the MX record with our mail server that we're about to input into the installation script. And it will actually kind of guide you through this when you go to the mail application for the very first time. So now that we have that, we're back in our terminal about to run this bash script. We're going to want to give this sudo privileges and then hit enter. Now here, first question is, do we want to use Docker? This is recommended, and we did the whole Docker one-click just for this purpose. You technically could do this with RPM or Debian packages, but for now I'm going to say yes, let's do this with Docker. And this is important. We are going to want to enable something in our grub configuration file so mail would work. I forgot this was going to happen, to be quite frank. Here is the page. So first we're going to check if vsyscall is disabled, so we could do that with a simple grep. And I'm pretty sure I need to sudo, paste that on in, enter. We only have one output, which means it is disabled. So what we're going to want to do is enable this. And we could use this echo command here, and then we're going to want to update grub. So let's give that a copy. For this, I'm going to switch to my super user or root, paste that on in, hit enter, and then I could switch back to my normal user and then do a sudo -update -grub. Hit enter. There we go. So now we're going to want to go ahead and reboot. Run sudo reboot, and this might take it a couple minutes, so we'll be right back. So a minute or two has passed. Let's try to log into our server once again. It's prompting us with a password, so we will be able to do so. Now if I just hit the up button, we could run that cat command again, and then we could see that now we have the vsyscall thing. So it's now that we should be able to run our bash script, hit enter, yes, we want to use Docker, and there we go. It's going to pull a bunch of different things for us. This is, I think, 4 or 5 different Docker containers that it's going to be doing. Basically, every component that we looked at earlier is its very own thing, and it all kind of integrates and works together very nice. So this process does take a little while as well, so we're going to want to sit back and let it do its thing. All right, there we go. Some time has passed. You can see, thank you for installing OnlyOffice. You can now configure your portal and add a mail server to your installation if you would like to. So with that, let's go ahead and see if our domain name has properly propagated. There's a chance it did not. That's why I showed you a demo installation prior, which it has not yet. Good thing we showed off the features first. One thing you could do alternatively until it's all propagated and ready to go is use the IP address. So if we grab the IP address, paste this on in here, hit enter, we can see it was successful and it's ready to set up. So we're going to want to type in a password, give it an email address to use. We're going to want to accept the terms of the license agreement. Like always, you should probably read that and make sure you select your appropriate time zone. So for me, it's going to be over here somewhere. There it is, Los Angeles. Continue, and then boom, look at that. We are now in. Again, this is just through our IP address at the moment. I don't recommend you do too many things until that fully converts over and you're able to use your actual domain name. But one thing I was talking about earlier is mail. This is where you will probably run into the most issues here and there. If we go to mail, we're going to click on that. Here you can add a new account. So adding an account is an account that already exists on a different mail server, whether if it's a self-hosted mail server, something like Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, whatever. That's where you'd want to add those emails, or you could set up a domain. Click on that. We have no domain set up yet. So if we set up our first domain, we'd want to do this as hopkey.net for the domain. Click on next, and then this is where it's going to take you through all the records you're going to want to set up. You could see it has the mail.hopkey.net there, which we talked about earlier. So you'd want to add all of these records into your domain, and we're not actually going to do this right now because it takes a good amount of time. So do note that it will take a while to propagate. Now the question I have is this A record ready yet? Hopkey.net. It is not, but what I can do is go through the process of doing the SSL certification, but then overlaying it with a video when it does actually work. You do want an SSL certificate. So you can see right here, it's not secure. And when we have our domain, it's going to say not secure as well until we do this thing. So we're going to go right here. We're going to want to go over to control panel. And then right here at HTTPS, this is awesome. It's automatically going to do it for us. So from here, when you do have your website through your actual domain, you just click generate and apply. It will take it about 30 seconds or so. The page will refresh and it will automatically revert your connection to your website to HTTPS, and you'll have your SSL certificate installed. Super easy, no terminal, no nothing, works awesome. Another thing, another tip, and this has to do again with the mail server, is you are probably going to run into issues because of ports. This right here is the ports which must be open for OnlyOffice Mail. The main ones you're going to want to open up are these right here, the ones that need external in and external out. If you don't do this, you're going to have issues sending and receiving emails. And actually opening up these ports is pretty easy. All you'd really want to do is go back into your terminal. Here we could do a sudo UFW, which is our firewall, and status. Here we could see we only have these 2 ports available or open. So for example, to add one, we just do UFW, and I believe it's 25, and these are going to be TCP ports. Oh, my bad. We got a little mix up. TCP, enter, rule added. So now if I go up to status again, we can see that port has been added, and you're just going to want to go through the list, open the ports you need. If you're not using mail, don't open the ports. It just adds more vulnerabilities. So there we go. That is how we get our very own instance of OnlyOffice Workspace spun up here on a Linode through Akamai Connected Cloud. I do hope it helped you out. It has a lot of different features, so do have fun playing around with that. If you did like this video, I have a lot of other videos on this channel, and this channel in general has a bunch of wonderful cloud computing content, videos, bunch of different things that are definitely worth checking out. So with that, I do hope you subscribe, ring that bell, have a beautiful day, and goodbye.